everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Foxify Radio. Today I am joined by Alex, also known as YaBonks.
Hey,
Alex, how are you?
good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure, Alice. Thanks for having me.
We have obviously seen each other before in some of your videos, actually, so it's good to have you over on our side for once.
Yeah.
For those who don't know you, did you want to do a sort of a brief introduction into who you are and what you do?
Sure. Again, my name is Alex. On YouTube and social media, I go by YaBonks. YaBonks. YaBonks Show is my channel, and yeah, I run an animal sanctuary in real life. I'm also a software engineer. I've been a software engineer for over a decade, and now I somehow turned into a crypto, DeFi, blockchain entrepreneurship YouTuber where I interview popular small business startup owners, project developers, software developers, and now large projects and businesses as well. And it's super exciting to host a TV show where I get to talk about entrepreneurship and software development, two of my big passions. And then I'm using that to fund and to try to scale my nonprofit animal rescue and animal sanctuary here in Florida in the United States. And I'm trying to grow that as big as possible. And with a platform like social media and DeFi and all this stuff wherein it's presenting that opportunity to be able to scale my my animal sanctuary. So I love it. So thanks for having me. And I really appreciate you and Danny, by the way. I know I've had you on my channel multiple times, and Danny is one of the first people I think I ever interviewed on my channel. He's one of the first dozen, probably one of the first dozen projects and businesses that I got the chance to interview. And his was one of my most popular interviews of all time.
Good, glad to hear it. Yeah, he does interview well. I think he's a great talker.
He does. He really does. He's a charming fellow.
He is.
Yeah.
So, Alex, where did the name YaBonks come from?
Oh, that's a good question. So if you can see over my shoulder, there's a goose right there. And one of the first...
I love your background, by the way. What is it, like books?
Thank you. Yeah, this is my bookshelf. It's real. Mm-hmm. These are all some of my books. I'm a hoarder. All right. I hoard books mostly. Me and my wife we're book hoarders. And one day our dream is to be financially independent where we can read like for as long as we want. Right now, we only get 30 minutes a day. But I would love to read for 4 hours a day, right? Yeah. But I collect all the books I want to read. I'm always working through them. So this is my real background. I am currently building the bookshelf all the way to the ceiling. We got probably a couple thousand books just in this room. And I just put random stuff up there. Like this goose actually was a gift from one of the supporters of my YouTube channel, Jim, aka Serenity. He started his own YouTube channel. I've been kind of mentoring him. He's gone full-time now, quit his job. He's a full-time DeFi YouTuber now, entrepreneur. I love it. And his wife knitted me this goose stuffed animal. And it's significant because one of the first animals that my wife and I rescued when we started our animal sanctuary shortly after we bought this farm here in Florida was a goose that was on the side of the road outside of a hardware store in a square crate. He couldn't stand up, so he was like this. He couldn't open his wings because the crate was so small. And apparently, for weeks, somebody just dropped him off at this hardware store and said, "Not my problem," and they didn't know what to do with it. So we were like, "Oh my gosh, that goose looks like he's suffering," and his like wings were all bloody because he's trying to do that. It was terrible. You could see the sadness in his eyes. So we took the goose home with us, built him a pen. We stayed up all night building fences and making it safe from predators. And we ended up naming him Godric the goose. And for whatever reason, he loves the B sound, plosive consonants like binks, bonks. So it was Godric Binks, Godric Bonks. We would say that. He'd get excited and run around like screaming. And so Bonks kind of stuck. And when I was coming up with my YouTube channel name like a little over a year ago, me and my wife were like, what if we just named it Bonks? Because that's a funny word and we say it every day. And that was taken. And then I just tried YaBonks and it wasn't taken. And it's fun to say, like, hey, it's YaBonks here. Like some other YouTubers say, hey, it's your boy so-and-so. Well, I'm like, hey, it's YaBonks. And that's it. And that's how the channel name came about. It's totally gibberish slang, a nickname that we have for one of our first rescued animals. So.
That's a great story. How interesting. So funny. It's funny how we come up with these things. Like I remember, so my first like alias online when we first started like MDB was Mina. So everyone knew me as Mina for such a time. And I just get all these questions like, oh, where does Mina come from? They thought Mina was my real name. And literally it came from Minnie Mouse, like M-I-N with Minnie Mouse, and then A because my name begins with A. And there was no like big thought process behind it. There was no, oh, I like the name Mina. It was just like, oh, what's close by? I think like my kid's Minnie Mouse toy was on the side, or like she was obsessed with Minnie Mouse, right? So there was Minnie Mouse on the TV all the time. So it was just what was in front of me right there and then. Just
I thought your name was Mina for the first few months.
Everyone did, yeah. And it just came from a random Minnie Mouse because my daughter was obsessed with it at the time. So that's
and it goes to show it doesn't matter what your name is, it matters who you are, right? Because you were Mina or Alice, you've always been loved in the community. You're very the community at MDB, they've always been very fond of you. So yeah, it doesn't matter what your name is, it's just who you are. And it's nice to be able to call you by your real name, Alice, now. Because it's so hard keeping track in DeFi world. I'm like, this person is so and so, but this is their alias that they go by publicly. Too much for my
I still
brain
think
to
the odd
handle.
person call me Mina, but it has definitely tailed off over like the last few months since we doxed, which is fine. I think some people, they're like one or two people still call me Mina, but mostly I think it's almost forgotten that was ever my alias, which is really interesting. How did you get into DeFi, Alex?
Just trying to make a quick buck. Right? I guess like everybody else. I'd heard of Bitcoin a long time ago. I thought the technology was cool, but I didn't think much of it, unfortunately. And then years later, I'm trying to make money online. I'm starting affiliate blogs and I'm selling Amazon products through that and ClickBank. I'm trying everything, all the normal stuff that they say to try to do to make money online. And I was trading stocks and options, but I was a gambler. I was not like, I know the systems. I studied technical analysis, but I'm a degen gambler, impulsive person at the end of the day. So even if I know better, I'll see that candle and I'll chase it. And I'm like, I shouldn't do this, but I do it anyway. It's like, oh, don't go all in. I'm going all in. Like it's a problem. I'm getting much better though after blowing up 4 or 5 accounts. And options trading was crazy. That's so like being able to have like leverage and things like that got really fun, but financially catastrophic. And luckily I've gotten to the point where I can set aside money. I save it up for like if I were going to budget, here's the savings for the house and the sanctuary. Don't touch that. Here's all the bills for the next 6 months and emergency fund in case an animal surgery has to happen or something. Don't touch that. Set aside X amount per paycheck for recreation. Then I use that recreation money. My recreation's trading or trying to make money online, doing crazy business schemes, coming up with all sorts of schemes, right? Then next thing you know, I find DeFi. I see a Jesse Eckel video about Titano, and I'm like, this can't be real. My friend at the same time is telling me about Drip. I'm like, all right, what is this? I start reading it about smart contracts and all this stuff. And I'm like, YOLO. And I chucked a bunch of money. I chucked like $3,000 into Titano. Totally, absolutely insane. I got super lucky there. Turned that into like 9 to 12 grand in like 2 months. And I was losing my mind. I'm like, oh, I want to be rich. Like I want to be a millionaire, right? And I immediately put that into a bunch of other projects that slow rugged me. And during that time, though, one of the projects that I believe was a slow rug, I shouldn't even say the name, but it was RingFi. It's where I skinned my teeth. I was like, oh, this is such a cool project. We're going to be rich, you guys. Everybody was bullish. To the moon this, to the moon that. I got caught up in it, first project I'd ever like been involved in. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the community and all the people. It was such an exciting time in my life. I had turned $4,000 into $20,000 on paper, though. That I had not realized those gains yet. And I'm like, oh, we're all going to be millionaires, you guys. This will never stop. The team was not doxxed. I was the only person out there showing my face. I might be naive. I don't know. Probably. And I was just recording the AMAs they were doing in the community Discord server and uploading them to an old YouTube channel I had. And I changed the name and everything to YaBonks. And I was just uploading them. And then they were eventually, and I was a volunteer moderator in that community. So I was like in Discord moderating, telling people how smart contracts work. I was trying to help the community. I was trying to help us all make money. And I was eventually invited to, I was asked, hey, you know this stuff so well, and you speak English really fluently, because they didn't. And they're like, could you interview us? So there's a dialogue in these AMAs. So it's not just one person talking to a chat room. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So I just started recording myself interviewing that team and uploading it. Eventually they disappeared. They just disappeared, stopped responding to me, stopped responding to everybody, but they kept taking their salaries out of the treasury. And the whole community was like, oh no, I can't believe this is happening to us, including myself. My $4,000 that turned to 20 went to zero. Well, I probably I put in 4,000. I probably pulled out 400. So I lost like 90% plus. It was a slow rug. I believe people still deny it to this day. Anyway, that core community that got rugged with me, they went through the trenches, right? We went through it together. They became my core supporters. They have stuck with me for over a year now. Like we are like family. And my first few hundred subscribers were from that, and they are hardcore. It doesn't matter what it is. They're out here supporting me more than any of these projects because they know my values, and that I was trying to help them, and still am trying to help the general community. And from there, I've just it's just been growing. I said, screw that project. I'm moving on. And I just started interviewing. I'm like, hey, I do great AMAs and I'm really thorough. I know this stuff very well. And if I don't, I learn it fast. And I'm going to use that to just interview as many cool projects with people that I can talk to like this as I can. And my audience has loved it. They share it all around, and my channel's taken off. It's bigger than me now. And I'm just trying to hang on for this wild ride.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we first contacted you for an AMA, you were obviously a lot smaller then. You were a lot newer. And I remember being a bit taken back because you were the first person that had asked for a video chat beforehand. Make sure that we were legit, and to make sure that we were who we said we were, that we weren't just going to run away. And obviously we didn't mind because, well, we're docs now anyway, but at the time you were the first person that even asked for that. And I was like, really? Like, why are you asking for this? Like, 'cause obviously I didn't follow you before then. I wasn't in RingFi. I have been rugged. My first rug was Unib, actually. That was great fun.
We've all been there, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's had that first rug, right? So my camera is literally balancing on, like a kid's armband, like an inflatable armband. So it keeps like sliding down.
That's ingenuity right there.
Yeah, I couldn't obviously fit my tripod into our suitcase. So seeing what
when I was in Dubai, I did the same thing. I was taking like the tissue boxes and cups.
Yeah, mine is literally, it's a tissue box with an armband on top. And then I just use my phone as my camera because it's an iPhone 14 Pro.
Your camera's excellent, by the way. It's better than my camera.
So I do have a proper camera, but it's big and bulky, and my phone is actually better. So I just use my phone. So it's my phone like propped up on all this stuff with a lamp behind me for some light. So random. And
you're a pro, actually. I don't like you have. I don't know if this is public information, but like what do you want to say? Or I know you've been like public. I used to like having social media influencer. Yeah.
Completely different niche. Actually,
like health and lifestyle, right?
Yeah, so one was more like lifestyle, and then one was more like interiors. Actually, I started my influencer journey in interiors, which was so random. I bought a house long time ago, like in my early 20s, and I just started taking pictures of it because I wanted to like document for myself what we'd done to decorate this house, and people liked it and they started following. Nice. It was just by chance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a long time ago though. But yeah, anyway, so I've got this random setup, so I have to keep adjusting my camera. That's why I'm sorry. It's like sliding in between this armband. So yeah,
it's all good. I don't even notice. And your setup looks great. Like, so I came into this knowing I'm like, Alice is a pro at this stuff. She's been actually doing this longer than I think most people realize, and it's I think you're well suited for what you guys are taking on with MDB and Foxify and everything else you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my marketing background is very much content and social, rather than like strategy and insights. So I think,
yes,
like you say, people maybe don't realize that is where my background more is.
Yeah, you and Danny, you're a good team. You complement each other's skills well.
Very different skills, very polar opposites. In fact, it works, I hope. But yeah, with the Foxify team, to be fair, we have a lot more people on. Obviously, with MDB, it's just us, and then we've hired a core team around us. Whereas with Foxify, it's more like Danny's baby, and then he's hired a much bigger team because it's a much bigger project that we're taking on, right? So I'm interested to see how it goes, but yeah.
And I saw you like what was it, Tyson Fury? That was crazy. I saw that interview. It was like Pelton and what's her name?
We had Leia Halpern and Crypto Jamie, and then I was going to join, but I just stayed in the background because it was a lot of people talking.
That was a cool one. I really enjoyed that episode of the Foxify podcast.
Yeah, it was long. I think we had Tyson for 30 minutes as like part of this, obviously, like brand partner deal that we have with him. And he just really enjoyed himself, and he stayed on for over an hour.
His talk about his faith and like his biblical knowledge and like everything like that, and how he struggles with like his like mental health at the same time. I feel I related to that a lot. It's like, I know these things, like I know better here, but then because of my mental health issues, I struggle to follow the things that I know are right. And like it's a constant battle every day to keep yourself in the right mindset, stay positive, don't become a negative thinking person. And I got a lot out of that episode.
Yeah, it was great, and I didn't ever expect it to take that sort of path, to be honest. Because so James Pelton was on it, and everyone knows he is massively into his faith. It's a huge part of his life and who he is. And when we sort of had to pre-arrange the questions and everything for Tyson, because obviously when you're interviewing someone as big as that, you have to sort of pre-arrange a few things. And he was like, "Can I ask about Jesus?" And I was like, "I don't think so, James. Like, I don't know."
I love James, man. James is such a good dude.
Honestly. And then when Tyson started speaking about his faith, and James's face was just like,
yeah, I remember. James, if for people who don't know, like that is James's real personality. He is that same person off camera as he is on camera, but maybe even more off camera. Like he tones it down, I think, on camera. When I was in Dubai, where you are with James a couple months ago, I just remember he just like, we were just hanging out, chilling, and he just like came, like we were having a great conversation, and he just came up to me, like put his hand on my shoulder, and he's like this hulking, like weightlifting dude, and he's like, "YaBonks." He like looked me right in the eye. He like, "YaBonks, have I ever told you how much I love Jesus?" And I'm like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Yes, James, yes, you tell me all the time. I love Jesus too, bro." And he's like, I just had to get that off my chest. I'm like, all right. Anyway, he's such a unique guy, and he's a good friend of mine.
He's actually been on the podcast. I think my first ever podcast for Foxify Radio was with James.
That's awesome. I got to check that one out.
Great relationship with him. I
know him and Danny are good buddies too.
Yeah, we've done loads of work with James. He's a great guy, and even when the podcast finished, he stayed on to talk to me about faith. So in the UK, it's not not as big a thing as in the US. That's why it's just sliding down again. So, you know, it's not something that is really spoken about really in the UK these days. So it's great to have a chat about it actually and see his perspective. I love seeing like different views on things. I think it's really important to go into life with like an open mind and listen to other people's views. And yeah, I find him really interesting and like insightful almost, because even if you don't necessarily have the same faith that he does, the reasons and the sort of messages behind it, I think apply to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that I think, you know, that's really great.
Yeah, your earlier question about how my YouTube channel got started, after that whole RingFi debacle, as part of that, I got invited as a guest speaker on the James Pelton show when he interviewed the RingFi CEO. They invited me along because I was so like well spoken about the project, and I had a great conversation. It's the first time I ever met James, and we had a great convo. It was super interesting. And then after that whole thing went down, I wrote a letter to James. I wrote him a well thought out letter. Like, I'm a big fan. I've been watching your channel for months now. I have my YouTube channel. I've got like 30 subscribers or something. Could I interview you? Could I do an AMA about James Pelton, his life, his values, his faith, and his success on YouTube and in business? And he got back to me after a while. I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. I did that video with them, and it took me from like 30 subscribers to like 300. And it really, because you know how it is. That first like couple hundred subscribers are the hardest to get. And because YouTube doesn't know who you are, it doesn't know how to categorize your content. It doesn't recommend you to anybody. And you have to boots on the ground, like knocking on doors, like, will you subscribe to my channel, please? And he took me from like 30 to 300 like that. And it's, you know, history ever since.
Yeah, no, great guy. And like you say, YouTube and social media in general, I think, especially like talking about building it as a business and more trying to like grow your following, whether that's as an influencer or, you know, a project or an actual business. Like you say, those first like followers or subscribers are so difficult. And the way the algorithm works, it makes it near on impossible to go from like 0 to 30, from 30 to 300, like, and then you get this snowball effect, right? So once people start recognizing you and the algorithm picks you up, makes a massive difference.
Yeah, especially once you're a YouTube partner. Once you're a YouTube partner, you get a boost in the recommendations too, because YouTube has verified you basically that you are who you say you are and stuff. So they start pushing your content even more after 1,000 if they accept you into the program. So getting to that 1,000 though is so hard, and most people give up before, because it could take 6 months of just like daily grinding, and some people never get there and they just quit before they fall. So
I think MDB,
like, what's that?
So MDB's YouTube has been stuck about 950 for months. Like getting to that 1,000 is so hard. Like, don't get me wrong, we're not pushing content on it all the time because that was never our strategy. Like that was never the plan for MDB. But yeah, it's so frustrating that we're like this close to being able to apply like monetization and stuff. And it's just like, it's like 50 people just go and follow MDB's YouTube.
I literally was in Discord the first, I don't know how, like I still do this. I just befriend anybody in Discord in any project server. If they're asking questions and I'm answering them, I'll DM them. I'll add them as a friend and just be like, hey, what's your name? How you doing? What do you do? And you know, what other projects you like? I'll just start talking to them. There are YaBonks imposters, by the way, you guys. So be very wary. Ask me something that only I would know. But I would make friends one by one and get subscribers one by one. And if you make a friend with somebody out here, even online, and they become a subscriber, they're going to be a subscriber for life, basically, because they're your friend. And that was my strategy to get to 1,000, and it started picking up from there. But I still do it. I take every opportunity, every person I meet in real life, I'll shake hands. Like, I'm the talkative type, as you can tell, and that's why I'm a YouTuber. I guess. And I'll be at the grocery store, and I'll just be like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? And like people be like looking at me weird. And I'll be like, da, 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 da. Next thing you know, like we're getting along great. We're best friends. I make fast friends in the real world. And my wife's just sitting there like, she's like an introvert. She's like, you're a crazy person. Why are you talking to strangers? And I'm just like shaking hands with everybody. And like within like 2 minutes, I'll be like, oh yeah, check out my YouTube channel. And like, they'll pull up their phone. They'll be like, is this you? I'll be like, I will click subscribe for them and be like, yeah, that's me. And they'll be like, oh, cool. I when I was in Dubai, I met probably 100 people. And just walking down the boardwalk and things, going to these conferences, and I literally clicked that subscribe button for them, and I got probably 100 subscribers just one by one that way. So I would try that.
Yeah, I think in Dubai though, I think that's more normal. Like you just see people filming TikToks and Instagram, and you know, it's social media is like anything tech related in Dubai is massive. So I don't feel like, you know, getting subscribers in Dubai, like you say, I think that's probably less, you know, weird than in the US or the UK. But
yeah,
Danny's a bit like you, and he'll just talk to people, and I do not. Like I am hard work sometimes, like in person to talk to. And I remember we were in Florida actually a few years ago, and he was talking to this guy at the bar, and I was just like, oh, like I don't know what to say here. Like I'm not, you know. So I think I just went and sat somewhere else.
Yeah, you sound a lot like my wife in those situations. Yeah. She's very introverted and
same. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? So do you follow like bigger crypto markets? Are you more of a degen? So I know obviously you are a bit of a degen. We've already sort of established that. Do you follow like the bigger sort of blue chip, you know, tokens and stuff as well?
Oh yeah, I'm always watching the Bitcoin price and Ethereum and BNB. I'm always those three. I'm always watching. Because I love Binance Smart Chain. I do a lot on there. Same with Ethereum, and they're all kind of built off Ethereum Virtual Machine anyway. So I track those. But Bitcoin's the big one, right? They all kind of follow Bitcoin. The entire macro environment of crypto is still based around Bitcoin. So I'm always watching that. My long-term goal is to stack as many Bitcoin as I can into a bunch of hardware wallets and hold them forever, basically, like a retirement account. That's part of my retirement strategy, actually. It's like, yeah, I got the 401k, the retirement account from my corporate jobs, but I don't know if that's going to be around in 30 years because the government's always changing things, and it hasn't been around for that long. As it is, those 401ks and things like that. A lot of people don't know that. Those are kind of new over the past few decades. So like it's not as time tested, but you know, the stock market and everything is at least for the last 100 years. But I want to diversify even further into like real estate and Bitcoin, especially because I'm a Bitcoin bull. I think we're going to see Bitcoin over $1 million in our lifetimes. And if I can snag one or two of those, then I'm a millionaire someday, right?
Yeah. When do you think the market will improve?
I am not a financial advisor, so I just want to give that.
Your own research, always.
Yes. If I had to guess, I would say as we approach the next halving, so over the next 2 years, I think we're going to see it's to start trending up. It's never going to be a straight line. It's going to probably, I personally think it's going to dip back down under 20,000 again. Just I could be totally wrong. Right. That's my feeling, is that we're going to see another leg down, and then it's just going to after that. And we're probably, I'm guessing, we're going to see over 100,000 Bitcoin at least next halving cycle. And yeah, that's my guess for that, especially if they turn on quantitative easing, the money printers, they start printing again. That money, all that extra cash and currency they're putting into circulation is going to go to inflationary assets like Bitcoin, like stocks, like S&P 500, like precious metals and things like that, and real estate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, well, the halving due next year, isn't it? I think that's when you're going to really see it be like you said, it could go a bit like this, and then I think that we're just going to push it up. I hope it dips again. I hope it dips. I always said.
I do too.
I always said, because I got into crypto sort of at the middle of the last bull run. So when Bitcoin was like 50k, 60k, and I always said when it was the bear market, if it got to 15, I would buy some. and obviously it did drop to 15, and I didn't buy any.
I didn't either. I messed up. I should have been DCAing that whole time, but I was like, I'll wait a little longer. I'm gonna wait for like 12K.
Yeah, that's what I was like. And I was like, you know, talking to like these communities, doing all of this research, like talking to different investors and traders, and like I get a lot of my research from talking to people. I like to ask, you know, experienced people's insight. That's how I think it's best to sort of learn. And everyone was like, nah, it can go to 12, it will go to 12, it'll go less, it'll go less. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy it at 15, because if it goes to 12, I'll be fuming that I didn't wait.
Right.
And then obviously it's just not even gone as close to that at all. So it goes under 20. I'm going to buy some more Bitcoin.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I don't know.
Because I got this mug that says a future Bitcoin millionaire.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, there. And I've got another one up there. Anyway, I'm using the secret, right? I don't know. Positive mindset. Like, this is the goal. This is the goal. I want to stack coins. Bitcoin, I want to stack some gold coins, some silver coins, and just have exposure to all these things, because I think the people that I know that just kind of DCA'd into things for like decades, they did all right. Like, they had a dignified retirement with a decent quality of life, and they're usually diversified in stocks, bonds, some like a little bit of precious metals just in case, and now crypto. And I think crypto has the most upside, and I think Bitcoin has the most security with that upside, in terms of all the cryptocurrencies. And as long as you don't like throw this in the landfill and lose your seed phrase like that one dude, then you know, this could be a really great retirement plan. And in my opinion, assuming AI doesn't figure out quantum computing and learn how to crack SHA-256. So yeah, encryption.
Yeah. No, do you know, there was a guy, and he died a few years ago, and he made the news. And I can't remember if he was Brit or American. I feel like he was Brit, but I could be wrong. He could have been American. And when he died, he left this like $8 million or £8 million fortune. I think he left it all to charities and stuff. And everyone was saying, like, how did he amass this multi-million fortune? Like, he was, I think he was a caretaker in a school or something. So nothing high paid. And it turns out he had just DCA'd stocks his whole life. Every month he got paid, he would just buy
stories in this book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, as a janitor. And that janitor just like that's a story. I literally read that 3 months ago.
It's crazy. I remember it. And like, literally, it just sounds like he would just buy stocks and stocks and stocks, and nobody knew that he had this fortune, because he was a caretaker. He just lived his normal life, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy.
And that's one of those things where it's like, it's not so much about knowing what to do. It's about having the discipline to do what you're supposed to do. Absolutely. Somebody like me who's so impulsive, I have problems with discipline at times, because I can get swayed by my whims, and I can get caught up in the romantic idea of lucrative investments and fast money, and thus take money from these DCAing portfolios I'm building, and then like gamble them on something that I think's going to the moon, and it doesn't, and then I lose some capital, and I'm just like, oh, you idiot. So I've gotten a lot better. I don't touch that other stuff anymore. If I don't have it in a play account or like just dry powder, I don't do any crazy degen stuff anymore. I have a small allocation for that now, but I really need to, I think, increase my allocation for Bitcoin DCAing before the next halving happens. That's but like that story's so good, by the way, that janitor story.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, it's insane. And I'm a bit like you, like with my you know, my free cash, I'm a nightmare, to be honest. And I'll think, oh, you know, I'll do this and I'll do that, and then I get swayed by something else. And I'm quite good at like my savings or my shares or like my stocks or you know, my crypto. I don't see that as real money. I don't see that as liquid assets for me, and that goes away. And that's something that I've always been quite good at if I'm saving for something in particular. Like a few years ago, I split with an ex of mine and we sold our house that was joint, and that money just went into a pot and I never touched it. I was like, that for me is house money. Like, and in that sense, I've always been quite strict, but like me and my free cash, I nightmare with, to be fair, nightmare.
Yeah. And I think what you made a good point in there, that you set it into like a pot or a separate account just for that. Yeah. And I like having separate accounts for things. Like if it's in a separate account, it helps my mind delineate that this is for this and this is for this. And some of the people, if anybody follows like Dave Ramsey's financial freedom plan or whatever, the snowball thing to get out of debt and then build a retirement account and all that, I've read those books as well. And he actually even like, and he's old school, so he's been teaching this for decades, but it's like you have envelopes, you put cash in separate envelopes. Like this is the house envelope, the house money goes in here, don't touch it for anything else. This is the grocery envelope, put the cash in here for groceries. And even with bank accounts, he recommends like break up your checking account into or your accounts into like have 10 savings accounts in your main account for like house payment, grocery bill, and like once those are all good, then anything else on top of that you either put into additional savings and investments, or your 6-month fund or whatever, or into your kids' college fund, or once that's all allocated appropriately, for recreation, for whatever you want to buy or donate to charity or whatever else you want to do after that. Although he always recommends the 10% tithing because he's religious and everything like that. So regardless, anyway, off topic, but I think separate accounts for things really helps people realize, like, just psychologically, I shouldn't touch that money.
Yeah,
that's not my play money.
If I don't have something in a separate place, it's free for me, and I'll think, oh well, it's not allocated for anything else.
Yeah, I kind of like NFTs for that reason, because they kind of remind me, if it's a solid NFT and it doesn't just like but if it's like a utility NFT and like I calculate some kind of return on it, like in a year I'll ROI on it, and then if anything else is profit on top of that, that is so much less liquid to me than having a fungible coin, like with a liquidity pool, because I'm like, oh, well, there's this other thing I want to do, or I need this money for this this new barn that we need to build, or this like goat surgery. We just had a goat surgery. It cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. Crazy. And that stuff like comes out of nowhere. Like life happens. So I'm like, okay, what can I sell? What can I liquidate? And like liquidating an NFT for me is a lot harder, a lot bigger of a decision than liquidating like some BNB if I got lying around, or Matic or something like that. Yeah. So I like NFTs for that reason. It kind of separates things into non-liquid accounts in my head, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So you touched upon like The Secret with your mug. Love that. Do you follow like the law of
I actually got that book right there.
Oh, there it is. I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've read a lot of the self-help books, especially in terms of like money and finance, and I'm always trying to improve myself, right? So if other people have made some progress in that department, I'd like to learn what they know and see if I can apply it to my life. Now, I know a lot of it is, a lot of people think it's like self-help stuff is stupid or whatever, but like there is a lot of good advice and wisdom out there. Even like you were saying with James Pelton, his biblical knowledge is full of ancient wisdom. I mean, if you read Proverbs from the Bible, that was one of the best things I ever did when I was like 20 years old and I was a total wreck. I was a mess psychologically. I was partying too much, and I was like, oh, I need some like order in my life. And somebody recommended read Proverbs every day. And I'm like, I'm not religious. Like, this is not about that, really. This is about like, you do this in life, this is going to happen. Like this. And I learned a lot of wisdom from that. And that's like, to me, it was like Proverbs was like my first real like hard hitting self-help book. Weird as that sounds, but like The Secret was a very important book in that sense, because it taught me how to it helped me train my mind to think more positively and abundantly, so that way my mind is more tuned to perceiving and identifying opportunities to have abundance and to be more generous and to share more positivity through thoughts, words, and emotions that I'm putting out into the world, versus me just sitting here like being like, oh, I'm mad about blurg and blurg and blurg. I can literally be like, wait, that's gonna reciprocate in ways you don't intend it. Get your thinking in check. Stop what you're doing. Do like some deep breaths and repeat some things that you're grateful for. Like, I'm grateful for my wife. I'm thankful for my my YouTube channel. I'm thankful for all the animals that I'm able to help. I'm thankful for my family, my friends, and my life. And when I say that stuff, I'm like, all right, it's hard to be mad now. And then I'm in a good state. And when I'm talking with people, it's much more productive, and magical things just kind of start happening when you're in that like frame of mind, I think.
I think for me, with The Secret and the law of attraction, it creates a focus, right?
Yes.
If you don't have a focus, and so this is driving me insane. If you don't have a focus and you don't have a goal, you're never going to achieve anything. And I think for me, this manifesting and this abundance comes when you know what you want, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're focusing on, you want to live in a particular area of the city or whatever that you live in, if you're not thinking about that, and you're not wondering how are you going to achieve that, you're never going to do it. It's not going to appear one day on your doorstep, right? By having having like these vision boards, for example, and they can just be in your mind, or you can have like a lot of people have physical vision boards.
I've got one on my wall downstairs. It is boom, right in my family. It's right in my family room. My family and friends probably visit and are like, Alex is crazy. I am crazy. I don't care. Being crazy is cool. As long as you're not like killing people and stuff, right? Like, there's a good kind of crazy. But like I like that side of life that's more ethereal on the time. If we're talking about cryptocurrencies, like ethereal, like Ethereum, there's more to life than just like this three-dimensional stuff, these meat bags that we're stuck in. I do believe we've got like souls that like are tuned into our minds, which are some operating systems and software running on our physical brains, on our hardware. I do think this is all one big interface to a more complicated, interconnected system than some people might recognize. I recognize it. I believe that's the case. And it helps me reframe my thinking that like, if I'm putting that out up that line, if I'm transmitting through my antenna that stuff out into the universe, to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, the collective consciousness of all beings that connects us all, then that's going to come back to me somehow. So I better be putting out good stuff most of the time, because if I'm a negative Nancy all the time, negative stuff's probably gonna happen to me that was unexpected. But if I'm so positive and like things are going great and I'm just like winning in my head all the time and like growing, doing better, helping more, just all this stuff, then like randomly it seems like magic, the universe just kind of throws good things my way, good people. I totally think it's all interconnected.
Yeah, I think as well, like even on a more like tangible level, if you think about psychology, if somebody is nice and smiley and happy and they say hi to you when you walk past, you are much like more likely to warm to that person, to feel happy about it. Like if you want help from somebody, or if you need help from somebody, you're much more likely to get that if you are nice to them and smile, and you radiate something warm and positive, right? I think even on like a psychological level,
right,
that really rings true, right? So
and there's a interesting caveat to that, because there are sociopaths who learn body language tricks and
imitate. It's crazy. That
imitation,
freaks me out, to be honest.
verbal skills to manipulate people. And some interesting things about that is when you're saying radiate, it's hard to radiate that if you don't actually believe or feel it. So even though if you like logically know, like I should smile now, I should like lean in, I should open myself like this while I'm talking to this person to show my receptiveness and doing all that stuff. That's great, but if like they have dead eyes, I'm like, oh, something ain't right. You're smiling, but your eyes aren't smiling, and I don't feel like you're a genuine person. And that's why I do those video calls as part of my pre-screening process for my AMAs. I want to see if they give me that creepy feeling where they're saying things, but it doesn't match with what they're
creepy feeling from Danny then.
Danny's a cool dude. He seems like somebody I would hang out with in real life, not some sociopath that's trying to stab me in the back or something like that. Danny's always been just like real with me, even if we've disagreed on things. We hash it out. You know, like bros. Like he comes off as a very real person. In all my interactions with him, I consider him a friend. And so I like within 30 seconds of talking with him, that first pre-screening call, I'm like, you're good. You're fine. Like I could tell like that. If I get tingling, my spidey sense starts tingling, the hair on the back of my neck stands up, and my gut tells me, get away from this person. I listen to those signals, even though they're not like as tangible, maybe. Even if they're doing the tangible stuff, I listen to the intangibles, the subconscious stuff. Like we are tuned to find predators, right? Like we're like, we've evolved to be able to find predators and to protect ourselves and our loved ones and our communities. So if somebody's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, we've got things built into us to like give us some kind of signal that like something's not right. And it might not be readily apparent, but if like it doesn't feel right, like don't do it. Get like there's other opportunities out there. You know?
That's one thing that really threw me. I sort of mentioned to you before that I had my phone stolen in London a few months ago now. And one thing that threw me more than anything is, obviously I don't get like up close and personal with this person. They were on a bike. They just flew past and they took it. But they did not look like what you would expect a thief look like. They were like on a pro bike. They had pro biking gear on, and it just looked like, well-to-do, probably must have some money to have all this expensive bike gear.
I know how he gets his money now. So
now we know he steals phones. But for a good while that really threw me, because I was like, a bit like you say, like we're finally tuned to predators, and it just threw me because he did not look like a predator. He did not look like a threat. You know what I mean?
And that's tough. If he's on a bike and it's a fast moving situation, like you don't have time to cross to the other side of the road, right? If somebody's walking down the sidewalk towards you and you get that feeling, it's like, I'm going to cross the road real quick before somebody plays the knockout game with me or something like that, right?
Like, it's like, and that really threw me. And like you said about like this instinct that we have, it happens so fast, and actually it made me really question my instincts. And not because, I couldn't have done anything about it because of how fast it was, but just because had I seen him on the street in a different scenario, I never would have thought he could be that person because of how he was dressed, because of what he was wearing. And anything, it shows you not to judge a book by its cover, right? But that's crazy.
And that's so scary about DeFi. It's so low barrier to entry. It's so anonymous that a seasoned criminal could throw on some like nice clothes, learn the lingo, and come out here and try to charm you. And next thing you know, you're buying tokens or put money in a smart contract that gets rugged, right? And that's everybody's fear out here. And we see these con artists all the time. It's scary, really, and a lot of people get hurt. And we've all been there. And it's part of the learning process. That's why I always say never go all in. Always test the waters. diversify, not financial advice, because I can't say that technically, I'm not a financial advisor, but like diversify people. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because that basket that's being held by that charming fellow that's dressed so nice and he seems to have his whole life together and he's going to take such good care of you. He might just be like, this is a nice basket, I'm going to take it. And oh, he wasn't so nice after all. And I've seen people lose like $100,000 like in a rug pull, and they're like, that was my entire savings. Oh, I was under a spell, right? I was caught up in it, and now I'm wrecked. I'm never touching DeFi again. And I hate that attitude, because it's like DeFi is magical. We're in the beginning of the adoption curve. There's so much opportunity here, but you have to be like really vigilant and careful. You know?
Yeah, since being on a project team, my investor like appetite has changed massively. And I think the bear market has helped a lot of investors with this, but yes. I feel like investor expectations are too low. They're too low. Like, you should expect more from the team members. You should expect them to be honest with you and transparent with you. And like, you see it so much, and they're either anonymous or, semi-doxed, or even, fake doxed. You can pay somebody to be the face of something.
Yeah. And that scares me with my process, but I keep those people, as Danny probably told you. Alex wouldn't stop talking. YaBonks wouldn't stop talking to me. He said it'd be a 5-minute call. We talked for 2 hours. He asked me everything about me, because after 30 minutes or an hour of like talking to somebody and tell me about your project, tell me about what you think of DeFi, tell me about what you think of this project or this person, like I can figure out real quick if they're a paid actor. Like they paid some dude on the street to put on an act. Give me 30 minutes of talking to this person. I could tell you if they don't know what they're talking about, right? Yeah. And that's another reason I do that, is because these KYC companies, sometimes they just say, hey, get on camera, show your passport. If the faces match, good, you're good. That's all we need, right? If that's a 5-minute process, sometimes you can't tell if that's a paid actor. But if it's a 30-minute, 60-minute call, you could generally get a feeling like, this guy doesn't seem like the same guy I was talking to on Discord. Like, or that I see in the community. That's not the same guy. He doesn't know this stuff, right?
No. And I think, like, it's crazy, to be honest, but I do think you are seeing more accountability, more responsibility. I feel like people are realizing, teams are realizing that they have to be legit. And you're seeing this sort of move towards, well, if someone rug pulls, people are on at the KYC company, like, where are you? Where are the funds? And I do feel like investor expectations have gone from like this to like this. I think they need to be up here. I think they still need to go up. But I think they're going in the right direction. And I think that's huge. I think it's really important. And for DeFi as well, like you say, we're at the beginning. And for it to really take off and, for more adoption, you need to be able to trust the teams behind the projects. I
totally agree. I agree at all points right there. Like we're here, but we need to be here.
We need to be up here. Like,
and it's DeFi though. So it's like, we need to be up here without big daddy government holding our hands or putting a boot on our face. Like, we need to be here, but as a community, as a decentralized international community, right? It's interesting it's basically, people need to vote with their dollars and determine supply and demand for the projects that give that level of trust as a team. And otherwise, like, okay, this project doesn't meet the standards that I have as an investor, I'm not going to even touch them. Next. There are plenty of fish in the sea out here. It's DeFi. Projects approach me every single day. I get to pick and choose who I talk to. And like, I really don't care what the project is. As weird as that sounds, tokenomics, I don't care. I don't know if something's going to succeed or not. No one does. Otherwise, you'd be a billionaire if you did. But if I knew Dogecoin or whatever was going to moon, I would, like, there's no way. That was just a viral marketing gimmick. That is you can't foresee that happening. And you could have the best, most well thought out project with the best tokenomics, like MIT, engineer, software engineer, mathematics, blur. You can have all the best credentials, create the most complicated thing that theoretically would be the best project ever. But if nobody hears about it, your project's dead in the water. It's not going anywhere, and you're going to go back to work at your corporate job or at the university, right? Like, so I don't know what projects are going to succeed. There are too many macro environmental factors plus luck. Like the markets move, the psychology of the people out here change, and luck's involved. So you could have the silliest sounding project, or people think, oh, that project's one of these money in, money out, zero sum games. Like, I don't care. I think zero sum games are fun. It's like a game of poker to me, but I want to know that going into it, right? I want to know like the revenue sources and like what the runway is if they're not sustainable. Like, I want to know those things so I can play the game appropriate. So that way I might be able to make a few percent on this game without exposing myself to too much risk, and then move on to the next one. If it's a long-term project, I want to know that, because then I can allocate appropriately and make the right decisions. It's all about informed consent. I need to know the risk reward ratio. I need to know what kind of project it is. I need to know all about the team so I can determine that risk. And I need to know the value proposition for myself. Once I have all those things, I can make the right choices. But too many people, like you said, still are just willy-nilly tossing money into any old thing and then getting mad when that money disappears. And then they're coming out here and they're lashing out at people, and they're lashing out at DeFi as a whole. And YouTubers, there's a lot of YouTuber prejudice. If you talk crypto on YouTube, you're going to get a lot of hate, and you got to have thick skin to do this. But if they listen to you and you talk to them earnestly, you can win those people over, because they're lashing out because they got hurt, right? They lost money. Somebody screwed them over and betrayed them, and they're mad. And like, the best thing I found is just to empathize with those people and be like, that happens to me too. And let's work together to find the good teams out here and see if we can help their projects be successful or not. Like, I actually am not. I try not to get involved with projects, but it's like, vote with your dollar at the end of the day. If you want to be in DeFi, you want to instigate change, like, vote with your dollar. Go for the projects that are trying their best to do good and not screw you over. And don't touch the projects that like give you that shady vibe. That's my opinion on that situation.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's, dog eat dog out there, and you've got, like you say, you've got to go with what you believe in and do your research. And for me, the team, it's huge. Like,
it's everything.
Tokenomics, great tokenomics with a terrible team or terrible go-to-market plan are never gonna take off. So right, it's getting very late in Dubai, Alex. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we'll close off because we're hitting an hour now. So the last question, I ask everyone this, it's a little bit off topic, but who are the 3 biggest inspirations to you? So 3 people that you're inspired by.
That's a tough one.
It's tough.
God Almighty, number 1, always. Number 2, Goku from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my God, how random. Wasn't expecting that answer.
And I don't know. Number 3. I don't know. I guess those are my 2 big ones, God Almighty and Goku. So and
the scale there, like,
and like, because I'm looking over the entirety of my lifetime, but I guess also number 3 would be my mom and dad. They're fantastic people, super smart. My dad is no longer with us, and every day I realize how more and more I am like him, and I wish I knew that earlier. He's a very smart, interesting guy. And my mom, she's amazing. So I'm inspired by them, and I want to be as good. I want to be as good of a person at some point in my life as they are.
Yeah, no, great answers. Completely resonate with what you say about your dad as well. I lost my mum a few years ago, and every day, particularly since having the kids, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm my mum. It's so annoying when they're not here to have that conversation with, isn't it?
It's tough. I think about it every single day. So anybody listening, if you still have your parents around, like,
you are lucky. Make the most of it.
Make the most of it. Exactly. So
Absolutely.
I would say God Almighty, Goku, and my parents.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alex. It's been great to have you. And for anyone that doesn't already follow him, I'll include all of his YouTube and everything in the description, so you guys can go and check that out and find out more about him.
YouTube.com/@YaBonks, YaBonks, Discord.gg/YaBonks. Come hang out in my Discord server. It's a cool place too. Alice, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Great. And I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.